evening, I'm Airman Dan Valler, and welcome to Kaleidoscope for August. It was another interesting month here on the base, and we'll take a look at the events that made it that way. Now, our lead story concerns the Danish Arctic Contractors, or DACCOM as they're better known by. And just what do they do here? Well, we sent Airman Rick Sarche to find out.
The Danish Arctic Contractors are a vital part of the Air Force mission at Sondrestrom, the support of the die sites. You've seen DAC at work. They've been painting barracks, renovating restrooms, driving people around base in taxis, and they cook your meals at the Polar Bear Inn. There are 7 major divisions of DAC: transportation, medical services, fire protection, civil engineering, base services, communications electronics operations, and communications electronics maintenance. The people that operate the switchboard come under the communications division of DAC. I recently had a chance to talk with operator number 2, who told us about the switchboard.
We have 4 lines to the States, 4 Ortolan lines, and we have 1 line to Hay River, and we have 1 line to Thule and 1 to Keflavik. We have our mobile net.
She also explained the morale call system.
The week for morale call starts Monday night at 19:30 and goes until 6:45 next Monday. And you have 2 calls a week, and we have something called standby calls, which you can book 2 hours ahead if you have troubles getting through with the ordinary calls. We have our direct line, and it goes through a satellite, and then we call a base and get an off-base number, or sometimes we have to make it collect. Then we go through Malmstrom in Montana.
According to Mr. Knudsen of DAC, a total of 450 people work for DAC at Sondi. The contract between the Air Force and DAC expires on the 1st of October 1986, at which time the contract goes up for bid. 30 people work in the communications division of DAC, which is headed up by Mr. Jürgen Smed. DACCOM is monitored by the 2004th Information Systems Squadron to make sure that the provisions of the contract are being followed. We'll be covering the other divisions of DAC in the coming months. For Kaleidoscope, I'm Airman Rick Sarche.
Last month, Kaleidoscope reported on the renovations taking place on the runway, and with an update this month, here's Airman Norman Kent.
The rock being used for the runway project is supplied by Sondi's own rock quarry, and to find out how the rock is retrieved, I talked with Knud Vector. Now, Knud, just how much TNT was used to blast the rock out of the side of the mountain here?
Approximately 2,500 pounds.
Could you tell me now what precautions are taken in such a blasting as this?
Well, you have to do the figuring how hard the rock is and what type before you make the distance between your holes and the depth of your holes, what you want to blast. And these holes are approximately 30 feet.
How much time does it take now to set up an operation such as this?
It takes about 2 weeks to drill that section and load it, the one you just saw the blast off.
Now, who overall sees and who's in charge of such a blasting as this?
Well, I'm responsible for it, but I have 2 experts doing the drilling and the loading and also the firing.
I also heard that a couple of your workers up here are Norwegians. Is that true?
That's correct. These 2 experts, they are Norwegian. They're very good on the job. Excellent.
Well, thank you very much, Knud, for your time and information.
You're very welcome.
For TV8, I'm Airman Norman Kent.
The port season continued this month as it has all summer, and with an update on that, here's Airman Tim Hill.
The port season continued this month with ships like the Ice Flower and the Green Wave coming to Sondrestrom, bringing its cargo of soft drinks, food, and some brand new pickup trucks. But Sondi isn't the only stop for ships like the Green Wave, as Air Force Sergeant Ken Larson found out when he talked with their captain, Peter Stalkus.
Operation Pacer Goose, as they call it in the Navy, is based out of Bayonne. So we'll load up at Bayonne and Norfolk and spend about a week to 10 days on the east coast of the U.S. And then it's a 5-day trip from Bayonne up here to Sondrestrom, then about 2 days up to Thule.
Sondrestrom was also visited by the Nomi, a tanker from the U.S. delivering its precious cargo of oil. But even with his busy schedule, the captain still has time to take his wife and daughter for a leisurely boat ride on the fjord. For a complete summary of the port season, join Sergeant Ken Larson for Pacer Goose 85. Check local TV guides for the exact time of showing. This is Airman Tim Hill reporting for Kaleidoscope.
The Message Center is moving from their camouflage trailer they've been working in the past few months to a new building with brand new equipment. And Air Force Sergeant Charlie Michelson tells us more about it.
The Message Center for Sondrestrom is in the process of moving and also updating their equipment. Run by Felix Services Incorporated, or FSI as it's better known, the Message Center is moving from its temporary home located in trailers near the control tower to its permanent home located nearby. The new equipment is in the process of being installed this month and will be tested early next month to check out the new system. Due to be operational by the first part of October, the new Message Center will be better equipped to handle all of Sondy's message traffic. A reminder to all of you who use the Message Center, the new center will be operated automatically, so be on the lookout for a pamphlet which will explain any changes for the new system, with the information to be out sometime early next month. For Kaleidoscope, I'm Sergeant Charlie Michelson.
A trip to Kellyville, an update on the softball championship, and we're all invited to a wedding when Kaleidoscope continues right after this.
Drunk on arrival, 3 sheets to the wind. Ain't no mistake in the state that I'm in. Deliver me, Lord, from this hell where I've been. Mixing whiskey and memories till when I'm drunk on arrival again.
If your friend has been mixing it up and you see they've had too many, see them home. Don't let them go it alone. After all, what are friends for?
Coming to America home. Don't it seem so far away? God bless America again. Born in the USA, I was born in the USA. God bless the USA.
Pride in America comes in many forms. You can show your pride in your nation by showing respect to your flag.
Recently, Airman Jeff Murray went to the Stanford Research Institute, or Kellyville, as it's commonly called, and he files this report.
As the cold winter months quickly approach and the sky becomes darker and darker, we'll have an opportunity to see something most people never will, as Aurora Borealis, better known as the Northern Lights, will put on their extraordinary displays. While you may be impressed with their bright colors and active movement, there's a group of people in Sondrestrom that have more than just a passive interest in the Northern Lights. A community called Kellyville has been conducting their research on the Northern Lights, among other things, since 1982. I recently had the opportunity to sit down and talk with Craig Heinzelman, the site leader of Kellyville, to find out in a little more detail just what they do.
The Sondrestrom radar is basically here for research, for basic research into the ionosphere, the magnetosphere, which is Earth's magnetic field, and the upper atmosphere. We're sponsored by National Science Foundation. SRI, which is the company I work for, is sponsored by National Science Foundation to maintain, operate, and upgrade the facility here.
The Northern Lights are seen in other parts of the world. However, Sondrestrom is one of the best locations to conduct research on them. While we may be impressed with the Northern Lights, many of us are not quite sure what they are or why they're there. Craig made it just a little easier to understand.
The Northern Lights are affected largely by the solar wind, by the particles streaming from the sun, and the interaction of those particles with the Earth's magnetic field. Now, if you in science class in high school or whatnot, you learn that the Earth has a magnetic field, and it's often shown as something very symmetric, like what you see around a bar magnet. Well, in reality, the solar wind exerts a pressure, and it flattens the magnetic field on the side toward the sun, and it stretches it out a long ways on the side away from the sun. So it's this interaction that affects the Northern Lights. So when there's a lot of activity in the solar wind, you'll see different phenomena occurring with respect to the aurora or Northern Lights.
While Kellyville plays host to many different research groups from all over the world, one group they see quite often is the Danish Meteorological Society, who happened to be there when we were and expressed their appreciation to the members of Kellyville.
Well, to both me and I know many of my colleagues at the Danish Meteorological Institute, we are so happy to come here, both to do our experiment, to do real good physics, but also we enjoy staying here with the good people we have around.
Kellyville is located 13 miles off base towards the port. The 5 people who comprise the permanent site staff are, like us, required to spend a year in Greenland. Due to their location, they do without some of the simple luxuries we take for granted. As a matter of fact, they can't even pick up this television signal. However, they tend to make light of their situation and find their own means of entertainment.
Different people do different things here. Some of us are very consumed in our work. Others do a lot of backpacking and hiking and climbing and hunting and that type of thing.
How about during the winter?
And during the winter also, there are those of us who climb and backpack and hike and things. Also, there are just a lot of hobbies. It's each of us has our own trailer, which is a reasonably comfortable place to live, and with enough room to pursue hobbies, electronics or whatever.
Sure. The members of Kellyville have been around conducting the research for only a few years. However, they still have a lot to do and plan on being around for years to come. If you would like to see for yourself where they live and work, tours are available by calling Craig Heiselman at extension 369 during regular duty hours. For Kaleidoscope, I'm Airman Jeff Murray.
The softball season is coming to a close, and we sent our ABS sports correspondent for this musical look.
This is Howard Soft Cell for ABS Sports, updating for you the latest developments in the softball action. Quickly, let's set the scene. After a brief walkout by the players, after a dispute with management over the playing conditions of Caribou County Coliseum, the players returned for the second season of play after arbitration. Remember back a couple of months ago when this reporter mentioned the first part of the season was won by the Informers. The Misfits, making a few trades and bringing up some young talent from as far away as Fort Dix, New Jersey, has the second season taking a turn for the Informers. They find themselves behind in the standings to the team that finished in second place, the Misfit Gang. The Misfits, wheeling and dealing to bring up the guys from Fort Dix, has strengthened their defense. At press time, the standings show the Misfits way out in front of the pack with a 5-1 record. The Informers are a solid game and a half back with a record of 4 wins, 3 losses. The group, led by the strong pitching of the Chaplain, finds itself 4.5 games back with a 1-win, 6-loss record. Mr. September, Gary Miller, has predicted that the Informers will come from behind to overtake the Misfits. This reporter is skeptical about that statement. I'll be back to give the final outcome of the softball action from Caribou County Coliseum next month. Reporting for Kaleidoscope, this is Howard South Cell, ABS Sports.
And finally, we're all invited to a wedding. It took place last Saturday at the base chapel.
Og give hinanden hånd derpå, så forkynder jeg jer, nu at vi ægte folk, både for Gud og mennesker.
A wedding ceremony between the former Dora Olsen and Mogens Petersen was held recently at the base chapel. The bride and groom wore traditional wedding attire along with the rest of the wedding party. We from TV8 would like to thank the happy couple for allowing us to share their blessed event with the rest of the Sondrestrom community. For Kaleidoscope, I'm Sergeant Charlie Michelson.
a close Kaleidoscope for the month of August. We'll be back next month to recap some more events that take place around the base. For AFTV 8, I'm Airman Dan Valler. Have a good evening.